What is going on, guys? Rodney here with Crypto Bros. Welcome to tonight's video. Tonight, we're going to dive right in. We are going to be taking a look at the Dav ICO. Dav stands for Decentralized Autonomous Vehicles. I have two quick disclaimers before we get in here. One, as you guys know, this isn't financial advice, blah, blah, blah. Do your own research. Two, if you watch the Ian Bellina AMA from the other night, he did not give this a very good score. He wasn't a big fan of the idea, didn't necessarily like the team or the token metrics. This is just a perfect example of doing your own research just because, he is very well respected, does a very nice job, obviously has proven himself, but just because he doesn't like something doesn't necessarily mean it isn't worth any type of value. So again, this is me doing my own research. So that being said, what is DAV? Again, DAV stands for Decentralized Autonomous Vehicles. And what they're doing is they're building a blockchain-based platform for autonomous vehicles to interact on. I'm talking like cars, drones, boats, rovers, you name it. All these different vehicles are going to be able to interact with each other on the DAV network. So keep in mind, they're not building the cars, they're not building the drones. They actually have partnered with people who are building some of these things, but they are building the network for these things to interact on. So what's cool and what's going to be useful is this is a decentralized platform. So if you think about like an Uber, right? They're centralized. They have a driver. They give the rides. Part of their whatever it is, it might be like 20% goes back to Uber after they do a ride or after they give a ride. With this is entry into market for smaller companies. If you own 8 taxis in X country or X city, you can sign up and get on the DAV network. You'll be paid in the DAV token. One thing to note is they understand the user experience is important. So what you would do is you would pay using a credit card, which would then be converted into DAV tokens. Same thing with a scooter or a drone or whatever type of vehicle you have. You can connect it to this DAV network. So you might be saying, well, I thought this was all autonomous. What they actually have in place now, because obviously this autonomous thing is very futuristic, we'll cover that in a minute, but they do have manned vehicles that can get in here and act on this the same way. It's just decentralized, so there's no central guy taking part of their profits. They can get the profits direct from whatever task they complete. One thing to note in terms of the autonomous vehicles is that they understand that going this way, again, futuristic, and getting all this technology installed in these different drones and cars and whatever it may be is a very difficult task. Right now, what they've done is they actually have the drones, the technology for this type of platform and the communication piece to be built into the drones. Basically, right now, signals are being shot out, or signals and commands. Like if you book a drone to go pick up something, signals and commands are sent out through a server, and that's actually what communicates with the drone, telling it what to do. So again, I get it. This is really futuristic. It's far out. It's I can't even imagine myself getting into a car or vehicle with no driver. But what we're seeing is there's a movement towards this. There literally is a movement. People have kind of been developing and pushing towards this whole autonomous thing, and I think this type of network that can connect it all is the next big wave. You mix something like that with blockchain, and I think there's a hit here. You just might have to use some patience because this is, again, quite ahead of its time. But if we look at what's going on, right? There literally are shuttles and buses in Switzerland that move this thing operates. This isn't like a joke. These things move around and shuttle a bunch of people every single day. We see this. We see investors like Lyft, Uber. They're putting money in there. Google has their own car. There is a company called Flytrex that's doing basically deliveries in Iceland. China has their own drone. I pulled this one from I pulled a couple of these from the white paper, but China has their own drone that actually can carry people. Obviously, everybody knows about the Amazon thing. Even Domino's has a pizza delivery robot thing as well. So all I'm saying is that these pieces are in place. It's just the next wave, and if there's opportunity to maybe get ahead on it and you're patient, you can actually do that. So again, what the F is DAV. Again, it's a decentralized open source protocol. It creates just one big spider web network for vehicles and users to interact. Again, we're talking about driverless autonomous cars, whole ride economy. If you needed to pick something up from your house and deliver it to your buddy's house, you can call a car or a drone to do that. Dav actually has a little like test net thing on their website we can look at where you can set up a drone and pay, and it talks about like the weight of it and all this stuff. So basically what you have is just, it's like an on-demand network of vehicles, whether it's car, drone, bike, whatever it is, totally at your exposure. If you're a big city liver, is that even a thing? If you live in a big city, you don't even necessarily need a car right now. Obviously, people do that now. I used to live in Chicago. I had a car there for a little while. It's a pain, but there's so many things that would be at your fingertips that you wouldn't need some of the things you need today. So if we're looking at use cases, obviously talking about transportation, they've estimated that the average household could save $5,600 a year, by not having a car. No gas, no car payments, no insurance, no maintenance, all that type of stuff, plus the upfront cost in buying a car. If you need to go to work, you can hop in one of these. If you own an autonomous car, you can put that to work. It can drive you to work, then you can unleash it and let it go work for you while you're at work. So it's crazy. Again, talking about, and I totally get that. That's such a far-fetched, long-term, just almost outrageous sounding thing. But this seems to be where the tech is going, and again, it can be 5, 10, 15 years, but if they're pushing this type of thing with blockchain, there just could be a tremendous amount of upside. So anyway, I'm gonna try to skip past some of this to save some time, but I think about myself when I used to live in Chicago. It was a disaster, man. Like, you can't find parking, you didn't need a car. I had it for 3 years that I lived there when I was living downtown. It was a nightmare for most of the time. I'm not even sure why I bought it, but I was doing well, so I bought a car. But yeah, it sucked. So we also think about like mail delivery or package delivery, like what you can do with that. If you didn't know, like the last mile, like for a package to get to your house, that actually represents about 55% of the cost. So imagine like a van driving up with 5 drones in it with their packages kind of to a general area. It drives up, the drones disperse, drop packages, comes back to the autonomous vehicle, and then it drives off. So we think about cost savings that way. Probably the couple biggest things that I can think of that would be tremendous is like, the travel time. Like if you have a shitty commute every day, like that travel time when you're not engaged in driving or sitting shittily in traffic, that becomes time saved, right? Maybe you're reading a book, maybe you're on the internet, maybe you're not paying attention because your car is driving. Obviously, I fully understand that sounds crazy to do, but that's the direction we're going. If you're not stuck in traffic, that's less stress, that's a less painful commute, that's more time back in your day. Also, if they're able to work this together on a large scale, and again, I understand this is speculation, but that's more efficient driving vehicles on the road. It's not 47 people switching lanes every time there's a traffic jam, people trying to work their way out, right? They can reroute their way, out of these and find better routes, whether it's every other vehicle that goes, something like that. So there's a vast array of things that can do this. Right now, they seem super far-fetched, but it's a possibility, right? So the big thing here, if we're talking about competition, again, I just want to reiterate that they're actually building the network for these autonomous. Look at this terrible spelling, just cutting into my time. So they are building the autonomous, or the network for these autonomous vehicles to run on. So they're not directly competing like Tesla, Uber, Lyft, Google, whatever. They want all of these vehicles to interact, to be decentralized. Like they're a third party, if you will. So like if you think about maybe Tesla trying to implement this same type of thing, like no doubt that they could actually do this and probably get it to work. But again, it would be centralized. If you get in a Tesla vehicle and it performs some type of task for you, whatever it is, that is not necessarily decentralized. So anyway, last but not least, again, as we're talking about speculation, long-term plays, adoption, like getting companies to adopt there, getting people on board to use this type of technology is going to be very hard, especially when we're talking about like commercial grade companies or larger companies. So they're working on these type of partnerships now, so that when they actually release it, these companies understand that they can actually earn a profit from using this, right? They're not getting 60% of the cut, they're getting 100% of it, because this is a decentralized, transportation app, one way or the other. If you didn't know, the Dav token, man, my spelling's bad, guys. If you didn't know, like, reading and spelling, two things I'm worst at. Anyway, but it is an ERC20 token. Again, just some other random things. Dav is decentralized, Uber is centralized. They get 20% of the fees, and what they're doing is it's a full-on application. Whether it's decentralized ride sharing, whether it's decentralized deliveries, whatever it is, like, this is what they're built for. So, and if I wasn't clear earlier, I just have this one note down here about this is autocorrect. This isn't me. Is that they're offering a manned service right now, so no different than an Uber. Instead of signing up and driving for an Uber, you could sign up and drive for Dav when this becomes live, right? And instead of getting paid in cash, you would get paid in whatever the amount of Dav tokens are. So anyway, guys, that is kind of my overview on what it is. A lot of people, when they do the reviews, they don't dive really deep in on the idea. I've just try to broaden this out a little bit. If we kind of just switch over, this is their this is their white paper. I actually read this. It wasn't a difficult read, and I'm seriously a terrible reader. I'm wicked dyslexic, so it doesn't pick up well in my brain, but I'm just going to read this part for you. It just says, decentralized autonomous vehicles is a computer network that will ultimately connect self-driving vehicles such as cars, trucks, rovers, drones to everyone on that network, enabling them to discover, communicate, and transact using the token. Users can pay for any of those vehicles with the token to get a ride or pick up or deliver a package, whatever it may be. People who own those vehicles or charging stations on the network can also earn tokens for the services they provide. Users can have an entire network of self-driving vehicles at their fingertips to bring them anything or take them anywhere with one token. Even in today's transportation market, during the transitional period before autonomous transportation reaches mass adoption, the decentralized transportation network the decentralized transportation network and its underlying technology can create a variety of economic opportunities, such as decentralized, on-demand, manned rides and deliveries. So that's kind of like their overall standing on here. And you guys can check this out. It's surprisingly an easy read. The first 12 to 15 pages are just kind of like the market as a whole, where things are going. They use a lot of different examples, and there were some pieces that I was going to pull from here, but this right here is actually where it kind of talks about their decentralized components: identity, discovery, communication, mission flows, payments. It's a fairly short read. Basically, with identity, it's every person and thing that interacts on the Dav network has its own specific identity. I don't want to dive too deep into this, just because it's going to be fairly long. But here's their website. It is dav.network. Super clean website. Obviously, here is their channels. I think they're up to close to 10,000 users on Telegram. Their Twitter has maybe 4,000 followers. Their GitHub, which we're going to look at in a second, as well as their YouTube. There's some really cool things on here. But obviously, if you just look at these brands that they're showing here, they're basically just saying we have people from all of these industries and brands working within our program, and obviously there are some very huge names here. Couple cool videos. They're super short. I recommend watching these. You can kind of read through these couple bits here and just kind of get a feel for what they're talking about. Again, I understand it's very futuristic, maybe long term. I can't necessarily say this ICO is going to come out of the gate and do 4 bazillion X. I think a lot of people might be turned off by the technology, but the hype is actually really starting to grow around this thing. So anyway, this just says Dav is a framework of open source software and open source hardware and free decentralized marketplace where anyone can buy and sell autonomous transportation services using the Dav token. Our technology consists of 3 major components. Obviously walks through that. And we're gonna actually check this out. This is we'll do this quick in just a minute, but this is just their drone application where you can literally have a drone come pick something up, deliver it. It's based on weight. We can check that out in just a minute. Roadmap, very cool. Couple big things on here. So founded in 2017, white paper released in May 2017. Where's the ones I want to? So the drone delivery app released in September, and the first smart contract deployed November. Developer portal launch. Dav passes 100 contributors on GitHub. We're going to look at that in just a minute. Like, that's super impressive, that much activity on there. Autonomous boat sends for selfie, and as I don't think I mentioned this, but they do have a minimum viable product. So their testnet block explorer was launched January 2018, and obviously they have a bunch of things coming up. Download the white paper. So everyone talks about this team. I've seen a handful of videos calling it an all-star team. Up here at the top, these guys are all advisors, obviously big names, right? Former Chief Technology Officer at General Motors, okay, huge name. Dr. Scott Horowitz, former Space Shuttle astronaut and NASA Associate Administrator. So again, anytime you have GM, NASA, Equinox, like, there's some huge names tied to this in terms of their advisory board, which is, I guess they would consider all-star. This beard alone really speaks for itself in terms of any validity. So again, guys from Ethereum, guys from SAP, Equinox, Bancor. So they've got some hardy names on here. Obviously, this is their CEO, well-spoken, good presenter. I've watched a couple of videos on him. He kind of gives a rundown of each of these guys on here. Pretty hardy team of developers, and then obviously their open source contributors down here. So they have some things going for them. Again, if we're referring back to Ian Bellina, I don't think he was super impressed by the team, but in his videos, a 15-minute rundown that, if you're not super familiar with, everything that's going on, again, I'm not taking anything away from him. Crazy respect for the guy. But maybe some things could have been overlooked. I'm not arguing with him. Obviously, each is their own. He's the best in the game when it comes to ICOs. Maybe I'm just some dumb kid. But I think there's some serious potential here based on who they have on this. And their actual CEO is like a high-tech investor for the last 20-something years. Obviously, had business successes and business failures, and overall, very cool outlook that they have going on. So the next thing we're just going to take a brief look at. This is their this is kind of like their couple things they have going on. So if we just scroll down to the bottom, here's their little search and rescue robot. So if a drone goes missing or something in a general area, they send these things out to track them down. They've got their autonomous boat, mission control, block explorer, yada yada yada. This is cool though. So this is what they've built so far. This is their drone platform. It is called Missions app, and you can actually check this out. So if we go here, like drones that are available, you can order a pickup, set your location, set your drop off, how big is the package, this, that, the other thing. So you can do a bunch of different things, and that's pretty damn cool. They have tested this and have moved some products using this. So again, the whole idea is really out there and crazy, but I think this is where things specifically are going. Again, moving on, here's the white paper. But if you check out their GitHub, fairly active stuff going on here, which is always nice to see. 100 different contributors, so that's cool. But one of my favorite things, actually, we'll switch that in a minute, is this. So if you head over to their YouTube channel or even their Twitter, they do this thing called the Daily Dav, and they are very upfront and open every single day with these short little videos where they talk to everybody who's working on the project, and everyone chips in a little piece and they put it all together. But they're just very forward-facing and open, and they literally do this every day. Like, we can just, I'm not going to open any of these, but you can see they just hammer these little vids out. They're pushing it. I don't know how well they're marketed. That seems to be a big complaint for basically everybody in the space is, oh, this coin, this project isn't marketed well. But they have stuff going on and they're growing, and I think they're gaining traction. Again, I'm pretty sure their token sale isn't until like April 30th. So if you guys want to check out like their token economics and stuff, you can do that. hard cap 38 million, soft cap 5 million USD. 1 ETH or 1 Ethereum will get you 10,000 Dav tokens. But breakdown of where their money is going and what they're doing with it. So that's pretty cool. I don't remember what the I don't remember how many tokens they had. I thought it's under $1 billion. It's like 760 million, I believe, or something like that. Don't quote me on that. And I don't feel like looking it up. But that sounded lazy and terrible of me. I'm doing a presentation. Why wouldn't I look that up? Anyway, so last but not least, this is track.ico. This is kind of just like an ICO grading system where it gives you different, obviously, ratings on ICOs. Obviously, you can see here, 4.4, 4.1, 4.1, 4.4. This actually got a 5.0 on this specific rating. Take it for what it's worth, but this is the highest that you can get. So I thought that was pretty cool too. I picked up this little. I should actually show one of these videos here. This is probably my favorite. Sorry, guys. This is where'd that go? I thought this was a much more man. What the hell is this at? Well, apparently I'm not gonna find it. There's this group called I think it's called Rocket Fuel. They are some type of oh, it might be these dudes right here. Virgin Port. There we go. So these guys, they did it right here on Dav Network. This video, they're very scientific in how they break it down, which is a little bit different than I do it. I don't rate everything on the scale and grade it out like him and Ian Bellina do. But this is a great resource, probably one of the best ones I've seen broken down. These guys will talk about themselves, but shout out to these guys for a really solid video on that. But other than that, guys, I don't know how long we are at this point. I feel like I've been talking for a long time, but I'm going to wrap this up. So that is what I got for you. This is one I'm looking forward to. This is not available to U.S. investors. I'm not telling you what to do here, but yeah, not available to U.S. investors. Don't VPN try to cheat it, because I believe they have a know your customer thing set up. So that's out of the limits. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope you found this helpful. If you're finding these videos helpful at all, by all means, subscribe down below. We're getting close to 3,000 subscribers at this point. And, we're going to keep doing this damn thing. Toss your boy a like. Smash up the likes, peeps. Smash up the likes. And, yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So have a good night, and I will check you guys tomorrow.